For Miguel, driving Uber wasn't just a job. It was survival, a way to keep the roof over his children's heads and send them to school. He wasn't a rookie. He had been on the road for years, but he had one strict rule: never accept rides after 10 p.m. from dangerous neighborhoods. The city could be a jungle, especially at night. But 2020 wasn't a normal year. The pandemic had hit hard: fewer passengers, more bills, and the relentless pressure to make ends meet. So when a long trip popped up on his app one cold November night, paying double the usual fare, Miguel hesitated, but then accepted it out of necessity more than choice. This one's too far for this hour. But I gotta pay the school fees, gotta keep the kids fed. Just one ride, one trip, and then I'm done. He started the engine, the heater barely warming the cold air inside the car. As he drove through the empty streets, his mind wandered to home. His wife preparing dinner, the kids doing homework, the silence punctuated by worry. The route led him out of the bustling city towards a quiet residential area on the outskirts. Houses were few and far between, with dim streetlights flickering sporadically. The app showed the pickup location as an almost deserted street. Miguel had been driving for almost an hour when he arrived at the pickup point. The street was empty, except for a shadow by the curb. Miguel parked the car, switched off the radio, and glanced nervously at the rearview mirror. Suddenly, a sharp knock on the back door startled him. He barely had time to process before the door swung open and a woman stepped in. "Are you the one who ordered the ride?" The woman didn't respond immediately. Her clothes were torn, dirty, her face and arms marked with bruises. She looked terrified, and her hands trembled as she clutched the edge of the seat.
"Please, just drive. Don't ask questions. Please, just drive."
Miguel's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at him to stay calm and keep control. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles white. "Where to? Are you okay? Do you need help?" The woman shook her head, eyes darting to the windows as if afraid someone might see her.
No calls. Just drive."
The car rolled forward. Miguel glanced at the app. The destination was set somewhere unfamiliar to him, deeper into the city. The woman kept repeating,
"Just drive. Please, just drive."
Miguel's mind raced. Was this a trap? A scam? Or worse? His fingers brushed the small screwdriver he kept under the seat. A precaution, a silent shield in the dark. The silence between them was thick, broken only by the low hum of the engine and the occasional car passing by. Miguel kept glancing at the GPS on the dashboard. The route was odd. It wasn't dangerous per se, but it wasn't exactly the kind of place you'd bring your family to either. The woman in the back remained silent, her eyes fixed on something only she could see. Every now and then, she would flinch at passing headlights or the sound of a distant siren. "We're almost there. This place, it's..." "Please, just drive." Her voice was sharper this time, enough to make him stop talking. Miguel's pulse quickened. He didn't like not knowing where he was taking someone, especially at night. And then he saw it. The little blue pin marking the destination. Right in front of a building he instantly recognized. The Central Police Station in that district. The police? Why the hell would a couple of officers stood at the entrance, chatting? Miguel's instinct told him to slow down, but his gut screamed something else. "Don't stop here. This feels wrong."
"Are you sure this is where you want to go?"
The woman didn't answer right away. Her breathing was shallow,
almost panicked. "Yes, but just give me a second." Miguel parked a few meters away from the main entrance, engine still running. The woman gripped the seat in front of her with white knuckles. She wasn't moving.
"Hey, if you need me to walk you in..."
"No! No. Just... please, wait. I need to be sure." Miguel didn't know what "be sure" meant, but he stayed quiet. He could feel the screwdriver under his seat pressing against his leg. He didn't know why, but his hand drifted toward it, not out of aggression, but out of raw, human fear. Seconds passed. Long seconds. The kind that stretch and pull time apart. The woman's eyes darted between the officers at the entrance and the dark street behind them, as if expecting someone to appear at any moment. Finally, her hand reached forward, tapping his shoulder gently. Miguel flinched so hard his knee hit the steering column. "Thank you."
And with that, she opened the door, stepping into the harsh white light of the station's entrance. Miguel watched her walk away, each step hesitant, as if the ground might swallow her. Miguel didn't follow. He didn't ask questions. He just sat there, engine idling, staring at the place where she had vanished. For the first time that night, the street felt utterly silent. That silence stayed with him all the way home. That night, Miguel barely closed his eyes. Every time he tried, the silence of the street outside the police station came back to him. The sound of the car door shutting, the gentle tap on his shoulder, that whispered, "Thank you." All of it replayed over and over, like an echo that refused to fade. The bed was warm, his wife's presence beside him a quiet comfort, but his mind wouldn't rest. He turned, stared at the ceiling. The darkness felt heavier than usual, pressing down on him. Somewhere outside, a dog barked, and that alone was enough to set his pulse racing again. When morning finally came, it wasn't because he had slept, but because the smell of coffee drifted up from the kitchen. He shuffled down the stairs in a worn t-shirt, barefoot, his steps slow, heavy. At the table, his wife was serving breakfast: scrambled eggs, fresh tortillas wrapped in a towel, a steaming pot of coffee in the middle. The kids were already halfway through their plates. Miguel sat down, rubbing his face, trying to pretend that this was just another morning. Then his wife, without looking, reached for the remote and turned on the TV. The morning news filled the kitchen with a low murmur. He didn't pay attention at first. He was focused on buttering his bread, until a few words cut through everything else.
Escaped her captors late last night. Managed to call for help using a stranger's phone. Authorities say she was able to reach a rideshare driver who...
Miguel froze, the butter knife suspended in midair. Slowly, he looked up at the screen. There she was, the woman. Her hair was combed now, her face cleaned, though the faint bruises were still visible under the makeup. She was speaking to the cameras, her voice steadier than it had been in his car, but her eyes, they were the same. "I owe my life to the driver who picked me up. I was far, it was late, no one wanted to come, but he did. He didn't know what was happening, he just drove." Miguel pushed back his chair and stood. The kids looked at him confused. He stepped closer to the TV, the steam from his coffee curling in the air behind him. The news anchor repeated her name, described how she had been missing for days and how she had managed to escape in a rare moment when her captors left her alone. Miguel's chest tightened. His wife turned to him. "Is that..." Miguel didn't answer. His throat burned. Tears welled up without warning, spilling over before he could stop them. He wasn't crying out of fear this time. It was something heavier, deeper, a release. For the first time since that night, he felt the crushing weight on his chest ease just a little. The news moved on to the next story, but Miguel stayed there staring at the screen, even after the woman's face had disappeared. The days that followed were strange. Miguel went back to work, though not with the same rhythm. His passengers noticed he was quieter than usual, his jokes absent, his smile forced. He still followed the map, still picked up strangers, still drove through the city's arteries. But now the streets felt different, sharper somehow, like they could cut him if he wasn't careful. One day, after some weeks had passed and the storm inside his head had quieted, life began to feel almost normal again. Miguel had slipped back into his routines. The early morning coffee, the hum of the engine as the city woke up, the steady rhythm of picking up and dropping off passengers. That morning, the sun was already high, washing the streets in a pale gold light. Miguel had just dropped off a passenger near the outskirts of the city when his phone buzzed with a new ride request. He glanced at the screen. Pickup location, a dusty street on the far edge of town. The name of the place didn't register at first, but as the navigation loaded, his eyes caught on the small map, the street, the curve in the road, the empty lots on either side. He knew it. It was that place. The exact spot where, weeks ago, a bruised and terrified woman had pounded on his door and changed his life. Miguel froze. His fingers hovered over the screen. For a moment, he considered canceling. The memory of that night slid back into his mind. The shadows, the fear, the pounding of his heart. But it was broad daylight now. The sun was bright. The streets were busy. Nothing to worry about. He took a deep breath, shifted the car into gear, and began the drive. Still, a strange heaviness settled in his chest as he got closer. He told himself it was just coincidence. People lived there, didn't they? It couldn't be something sinister every time. The closer he got, the quieter it seemed. The traffic thinned. The houses grew farther apart. By the time he turned onto the final road, the world felt empty. The navigation pinged. He had arrived, but there was no one in sight. Miguel left the engine running as his eyes scanned the street. A light wind carried dust across the cracked pavement, swirling around his tires. The houses here looked the same as before. Silent, shuttered, abandoned to the heat. He tapped the horn once, lightly. No answer. Another glance at the app. Your passenger is arriving. He swallowed. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple, and he wiped it away with the back of his hand. Something about the quiet felt wrong. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that waits. And then, from the corner of his eye, movement. Two men emerged from between two houses, walking slowly toward him. Both wore baseball caps pulled low over their faces. One had his hands shoved into his jacket pocket, even in the heat. Miguel's instinct screamed at him. His hand hovered over the gear shift, ready to throw the car into reverse, when the taller of the two men stepped up to the driver's side and leaned in just enough for Miguel to smell his breath.
"We know it was you, Carnal," the man said, voice low and steady.
The one who helped her. That kind of thing doesn't go away. Miguel's pulse thundered in his ears. He gripped the wheel tighter, his knuckles white. "I don't know what you're talking about."
The man's smile was thin, humorless.
"You do. And now, you're coming with us." The man moved to the passenger's side, opening the back door without asking. Miguel's eyes darted to the empty road ahead. There was no one coming, no one to see. He thought about flooring the gas pedal, about making a run for it, but the man at his window had already reached inside, fingers brushing the steering wheel. "Don't make this harder, amigo." Miguel's chest tightened. His mind flashed to his children at the breakfast table, his wife pouring coffee, the sound of laughter, the smell of fresh bread. He felt a sharp, almost unbearable ache in his chest. Not fear, but a hollow certainty. The man's voice came again, softer this time, almost polite. "Last ride, driver." And that was the last time anyone saw Miguel. No calls, no messages. His car never returned to the city. In the Uber app, the ride remained in progress until it quietly disappeared. Some say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Others whisper that it was only a matter of time before the men who had lost her found him. Whatever the truth, that dusty street on the edge of town has never looked the same. Because for Miguel, it wasn't just another trip. It was his final ride. Thanks for listening. If something horrific has happened to you, give me a call and I'll tell your story next time. Goodbye, amigos.